Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. So you might have heard on the internet that Great Britain is no longer great. Now there is some amount of truth to it, but that's what I'm discuss more in depth in this video. The very first point being that what all events led to UK being in the recession. In the second part we'll be talking specifically for the international students that what is the impact of recession on all of you who are planning to study in the UK or maybe in the future settle in the UK. What are the implications specifically for you? And then thirdly I'll be giving my own opinion in terms of whether it should be coming in the UK or not, or like how can you wisely utilize this time of recession, right, for any of the students who are watching my video or any professionals who are watching my video. Very first part is like what all events led to UK being in the recession. Now for those people who don't know what recession actually means, now in very simple terms, recession means when the economy is in decline. Okay, that's a short and sweet definition, but this definition differs from country to country. They've got different ways of defining it, but don't be confused in the definitions. What is more important is what all events led to this particular stage of recession, right? The very first reason is due to the Ukraine and Russia war. Now in terms of the war, now when you think about Russia and when you think about UK and I think US as well in some regards, so UK imposed a lot of sanctions on Russia, right? Because like they were in the wars and they wanted to kind of weaken Russia. Like basically if they put sanctions, they won't be able to get the weapons because they don't have any money, so they imposed a lot of sanctions, the UK government, on Russia, which also meant that Russia was also one of the country which exported the gas to the UK, right? Which meant that the president Putin, he won't be actually doing that because the UK had imposed that tough sanctions on Russia, and basically Russia cut off its supply for gas to UK itself. Okay, so now which basically means is that the supply is low, especially now given that in UK it is winters, the demand is really high, it's like skyrocketed, and the supply is low. So what it means is that you need to pay extra, right? The cost of living will be increasing, so which also means that your inflation, which means a rise in the price of goods, will also be increasing. So for last month the inflation was up by 11.1%, which is again really big jump. Like 11.1% is really huge jump. So the very first thing which led to this recession is the Ukraine-Russia war, and then the second thing is due to the COVID lockdown as well. Why I'm saying COVID lockdown, I think there are two different things to it. The very first thing is there were free vaccines distributed by the UK government to the people, right? Which was a really good step. I really appreciate that. Even I was also benefited by having those free vaccines, but also it meant that someone had to pay for those vaccines, right? It was free for us, but it wasn't free for the UK government. So right, the government had to pay for all those free vaccine. And I think most importantly, during the COVID time, there was a furlough scheme which was announced. Now personally for me, again, I was benefited with the furlough scheme. A lot of people were benefited with furlough scheme. I think I really appreciate again that kind of scheme. But what furlough scheme meant was that, let's say if you're working in a local restaurant or a local clothing shop, grocery store, even the MNCs, now like during COVID, like these businesses, especially the small businesses, were all closed, and what it meant was the UK government, so the employee couldn't work, which basically means that they won't be getting paid at all because they're not working. So the UK government showed their support and we were paid 80% of our wages. Now that 80% came again from the UK government's or like UK's kind of treasury, right, which they have called, like that's how it was funded, which again meant that the government has given us those benefits, but now we have to again put money back into that treasure that it again fills up, right? Or otherwise it might, the UK has taken some loan, and that's how they were able to fund us with this 80% of our wages. So I think there are two major reasons to this recession. The first one being the COVID burden, and the second one being the Ukraine-Russia war. So this was the very first part of this video, and in the second part I want to talk about what is the implication of recession on the international students. And this background information was really useful because that's something which we'll be taking forward in this video. So the very first implication is that companies are slowing down their hiring, right? So you might have heard already a lot of news around Twitter laying off their staff. Now for Twitter, I think the reason is a bit different. It's like an Elon Musk thing, right? You know, he has bought like himself Twitter, and you know he's got the full right. But also given that it's not only Twitter, I think it's Microsoft, like it has also laid off their staff. I think it's Facebook who has laid off their staff. Amazon is laying off their staff. So you're seeing basically all these big giant companies, you know, the ones which we call them as famous FANG companies or FANG stocks. yeah, even like they are not kind of immune to this period of recession or this economic decline. So yeah, so there's a lot of companies who are laying off their current staff, which also means that they're also slowing down their hiring. Okay, so if they're laying off their current employees, it automatically means they're not going to hire new people as well. So yeah, so you should be like really be aware that during this kind of period, yeah, you might be finding it a bit tough for yourself to be able to get a job, right? Especially for the people who have graduated in this September or who are graduating in the January, because people who came in last year basically, so they'll be finding it bit tough for them to actually find a job for themselves. Now the second thing is that the cost of living will go high. Now when I talked about inflation, I said you that it's up by 11.1%, which means that the cost of prices in general is up by 11.1%. And also I mentioned about the gas prices. I'm looking over there because my heater is over there. So yeah, so the prices have really increased, and I think the government in their new proposal said that, you know, like right now I think it's increased by £500 per year in terms of your gas prices specifically. So yeah, so what you should be kind of ready is that if you're coming here in the UK, if you're looking for a student accommodation, it might be a bit expensive. If you're looking for local houses and flats, it might be a bit expensive. And not only the houses, not only the accommodations, it might also be your food prices have increased. The restaurants you're going to, maybe they're charging you more. The groceries are being more highly priced. Even I was seeing the price of milk recently, it has gone up like by a few pence. So yeah, so just be aware that these are the two things which you should be aware about. The third thing, not that much related to you specifically, to the international students, but it means that people like, you know, like who has bought, let's say, a house or something, and they're paying mortgages, the EMIs will go up, because during recession the interest rates go really up. Okay, so it means that the people who are paying mortgages, for example, I'm staying in this house, the mortgage will go up by some kind of a percentage. So which means that, you know, I need to pay more mortgages, right? So if I've got someone who's paying rent to me, I might think that when I'm getting a new contract, I might increase their rent, right? And then the fourth thing is that the low salaries are offered. So especially for the employees who are currently working in the companies, generally after every single year the salary goes up. But yeah, I think this year it will, I don't think so it will go up. It will be kind of be freeze. And also the other companies who are looking for new graduates, yeah, they will be offered maybe less salaries as compared to the last year, like when the economy was in a healthy condition, like before COVID. Before we move to the next section, I would really like to thank the sponsor of this video, which is Amber Students. Now if you're someone who is looking for accommodation, if you're coming here in the next January intake or in the next September intake, all you can do is you can click on the link in the description box of this video. Once you click that link, you'll be going to the Amber Student webpage, from where you can just put down the location where you're coming in the UK, and they'll be showing you all the accommodations available around that university or in that specific city, and you can compare all the different prices and select the suitable one for you and essentially book on their platform itself. And they've got a very friendly team which is available 24/7 to assist you as well. So do check out Amber Students. And now back to the video. Now talking specifically about like should you be coming in recession in the UK or not? The simple answer is yes, I think you should be coming to the UK in the recession. Now let me just explain myself over here. Now if you're coming here in January intake, right, it means that you'll be graduating next January. I think the best intake, in my opinion, will be coming in the next September intake. So if you come in next September intake, you'll be graduating in September of 2024. And during a recession, I think, for example, 2008 recession, I think it lasted for 1 or 2 years. During COVID, it was around 6 months. So I think on average, right, a recession lasts for 8 to 12 months, right? So by the time you graduate, let's say if you come in January, you can expect the recession to go away, right? But yeah, again, it's not 100% guaranteed, but yeah, so this is something which you can think about. That's what I'm saying you, it might be safe for you if you're coming in September. Now another good news, I think, is that the government has said by mid of next year, the economy might start to revive again. So which is again quite assuring that by next year in the month of May or July, the economy might see a positive growth from that year onwards, right? So which is again a good indication that if you're coming here in September 2023, by the time you graduate, yeah, we might be in a healthy condition and the companies are again recruiting. Yeah, so there will be again demand of jobs and the cost of living might come down. Now another thing, I think if you're coming here during January intake, what you should be concerned about is that you need to be prepared financially, because the cost of living is going to be high. So you need to make sure that you have got you're adequately equipped, right? You've got if you were before coming with £1,000, now you need to come with maybe 1,200 or 1,300 pounds kind of a thing, right? So just be aware that you might need to spend extra. The thing is that, you know, if you're thinking that you are not financially kind of capable to fund yourself during this like January intake, my best thing will be that if you're in India or if you're in US, wherever you are, you try doing an internship, you try doing some kind of a work in your own country. Especially for India, India is the only one country who is doing very, very good economically. Okay, so there might be still some jobs available, and I think when you come here in the UK, let's say let's say September intake, like during that period, make sure that you've got that work experience, you're doing that internship, so that once you come here in the UK, when you're applying for a specific job, you've got some work experience to show them. So yeah, so this is another thing which you can do. And thirdly, if you think that it's a bit hard for you to get an internship, try thinking, let's say if you are in computer science field, what all skills can you develop? Can you go to do some online course on Coursera, which are free of course? Can you do some kind of Cambridge courses? Can you do all those things? Can you do some volunteering activities during this recession period, which again will really, really help you to boost your professional profile, so that once you actually study and finish your master's degree, you can put all those things in your CV, and the recruiter and the person who will be looking at your CV, he's going to be really impressed that the person has been very constructively utilizing his previous time, and it's going to make you stand out from the crowd itself.